Alright guys, I'm back. Hopefully you had the courage to try this one. A little different than the other ones. You've got parentheses on here. Typically you want to simplify the parentheses if you can first, which is why we learned the distributive property in the last chapter. So it's not 5 times x, it's negative 5 times x. So hopefully you're getting negative 5x, and then negative 5 times 6, negative 30 as your first step. Then you can do this a bunch of ways. You could move the 30 to the right side by adding it, so it cancels it on this side and adding it over here. You could combine these two, which is typically what a textbook would tell you to do. So combine those, you get 4x. Either way, same number of steps on there. Add the 30 on both sides. 30 minus 14, I believe, is 16. Get rid of the 4 by dividing on both sides. You get x equals 4. You'll see I didn't show that division step on there. The first few days I like to see you show all your steps so we know what you're doing. So there's no mystery math. Later in the year, certain steps you can certainly get to the conclusion a little quicker. You'll see the rest of the paper is applications of equations or trickier equations on there. Apparently I'm going to skip that taxi problem for a minute. I'll come back to it. So flip the page over, go to example 5. No, sorry, go to these two fractional problems. Get you to deal with some fractions, how to clear fractions. So, initially, this is just like any other coefficient. Think of that as like 2y minus 9. You're still going to do your same steps in the same order. You do addition, subtraction first. So if you add 9 to both sides, you get 12. Some of you may already know how to do this, how to clear a fraction. Taking a fourth of something is like dividing it by 4. So this is really like y divided by 4. Now when we're solving, we're doing opposites. We're doing inverse operations. So if I want to get rid of that, I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. And if you're not sure about that, just think about this. What's 1/4 of 4? Well, it's 1. This would essentially just cancel out and be 1y. That's what we want. So we want a fourth and a 4 to cancel out. You're usually just going to multiply the coefficient by whatever reciprocal you've got. So if this was like 2/3, you'd multiply by 3/2. If this was 3/4, you'd multiply by 4 over 3, and it would cancel everything out here. And of course, the hard part, you might have to multiply by a fraction on this side. This one's not too bad. 4 times 12 is 48, and you're done. So clearing fractions is all about multiplying by a reciprocal on both sides. Again, you do your subtraction first on this one. So you minus a 6 on both sides. 6 minus 6 is gone over here. You get 4 on the right side. Somewhere on there, you can't lose track of this minus sign. It's important. I mentioned it on a previous one. I put it up top. Certainly don't have to have it up there. So if you lose the minus sign, your answer will probably end up being backwards at the end of this. So you could attach it to the negative down here if you want, to the 3 on the bottom. I'm going to show this by multiplying both sides by 3. So the 3's cancel out. We did talk on Monday a little bit about cross-canceling. Sort of the same concept. The 3's would cross-cancel. This is really 3 over 1. And that 3 cancels out, cross-cancels with that one. And you end up with this. Negative x is equal to 12. This is saying the opposite of x is positive 12. Which would mean, if you think of logically, the opposite of 12 is negative 12. Which means x has to be negative 12. Now, some of you already know if you multiply this original problem up here by negative 3, you're going to get a negative times a negative, which is already going to get you to the positive. Which means this is going to be negative times a positive here, which gets you to negative 12. So you certainly don't have to have that extra step in there. But there will be times when you end up here and you forget about that negative sign. Just switch it at the end. Essentially what you're doing here is you're just multiplying everything by negative 1. Negative 1 times a negative is positive. Negative 1 times 12 is negative 12. Alright, exterminator problem. I think the taxi one, I'm going to come back to that eventually. So this is a problem, a word problem on here. Exterminator charges you $10 just to show up at your house and $12 per room. Why does he charge that $10 is the first question. So if you ever worked in, parents are working in business or anything like that, that's a show-up fee. That's just to get you to pay for their gas, pay for their supplies, pay for their expenses, just to show up on there. So I want you to understand sort of the context of the problem on here, and then try to set up an equation on here. If he hands you an $82 bill, write an equation that shows what's going on here. So now you're looking at a word problem and saying, how do I create an equation from that? You will have to realize, or think of this as well, how many rooms did he charge you for, and was it fair if this is your floor plan? And you have to think about how many of these rooms he's actually cleaning on there with the extermination device as you see here. So essentially you're taking the 82 and you're setting it equal to something with a 12 and a 10 in it. Think about that for a minute, 30 seconds. Write something down. Write an equation down. $82 is equal to whatever he charged you for. 10 plus 12. How does that work? Hopefully you're thinking something like this. $10 is just the initial fee plus $12 times, and I used R for the number of rooms. You could have used X on there. Certainly can use any variable you want. I used R because it kind of makes sense on there. That has to be equal to 82. That's the equation you're solving. Now in the real world, you solve this question. If you know somebody charges you a certain way, and you know what they billed you, you would back right into this. Hopefully you'd back right into this and check to see if they charge you correctly. But algebra, you might not in real life write this equation down, but the way you would solve this is pretty logical. You'd go, okay, it's $82. Well, I'm going to take the $10 off right off the bat because I already know that's going to be charged no matter what. So there's $72. It's $12 per room, so I'm just going to divide the 72 by 12. And that does go in evenly. There's 6 rooms on there. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Depends if he cleaned all these other ones or not. Sounds reasonable. Wait, we only have 5 rooms. He ripped us off. We fight back. We, try to get our money back. Ignore that. You're not going to do that. Skip that around. I'm going to jump to something else on here. Let's get to taxi problem. Where can I find it on here? There's the taxi problem. Sorry to make you flip back. Go back to the front page. Go back to example 4. Taxi driver. Charge you $3 per ride plus $1.50 per mile. Similar to the exterminator problem. So you charge it. Driver claims you owe $9 at the end. And boy, these machines never work right. If you've ever been in a taxi, man, I don't believe them ever. I wish I could challenge them every single time. At the end of your trip, how many miles did you travel? And then the second part of it, if your trip was 3 miles, did you get charged correctly on there? So what you're doing is you're taking the $9 and you're setting it equal to something with the 3 and the 150 involved in there. And of course you can easily come up with $3 plus $1.50, and there's 1.5, times M meaning miles. If you drove 10 miles, this would be 10 times $1.50, it would be $15. And that's got to be equal to 9 in this case. Of course, it's got to be less than 10 miles. So again, if you were in the tabs trying to check this in your head and go, is this right? You would easily subtract the 3 from both sides in your head. You get 6. And you go, okay, how many times does $1.50 go into 6? And of course, it does go in evenly. Think of 60 minutes and 15 minutes. Goes in there 4 times. So if your trip was 3 miles, did he charge you correctly? No, he ripped you off. He charged you for an extra mile on there. And you could have solved that equation to sort of verify that. That, of course, means he should have charged you $2. So you don't have to look at it this way. But, of course, there's a way to verify whether things are happening correctly or not. Go back to the back of the page now. You got a chimney sweep question on there. So one of the last 2 I've got for you. Holidays are approaching. You decide to call the chimney sweep to make sure Santa has a safe route for delivery of presents. Very important thing. The company charges $25 for their service and $12 per foot of chimney height. In other words, the larger the chimney, the taller the chimney, the more it's going to cost. And your budget only allows you to spend $200. What's the tallest chimney you can afford? So there's your equation you should be able to set up on your own. And when you get to a test in this chapter, you'll have to be able to write your own equations. Really, this unit 2 is going to be all about equations. So $25 plus $12 times the height in feet of chimney you've got there. So you've got a 10-foot chimney. It's going to be $120 for that part. And that has to be within $200 of your budget. So you subtract the 25 from both sides first, you get 175, and divide by 12. And you're going to be using the calculator throughout this chapter, so don't be afraid to grab one and use it throughout the homework in these sections. If it's simple math, it works. In this case, it's not going to be exact. 14.6. So a little more than 14 feet, 14 and a half feet approximately is what you could afford. So if your chimney's 15 feet tall, you need more money. All right, the last one is a geometry problem, which you will definitely see next year. The given information there is triangles, angles sum to 180. You may or may not have known that before. So you've got these three angles, and they have to add up to 180. Write an equation, and then solve for the value of each of these angles. Application of some algebra. So this angle plus this angle plus x plus 40 plus whatever that angle is has to equal 180 degrees. You'll prove that, and you'll figure out why that works in geometry next year. So combine the like terms, you get 7x's plus 40. Subtract the 40 from both sides, and it will go in evenly. X is 20. And the last step is to reread the question. Write an equation, did that. Solve it for the angles. So if x is 20, now you've got to actually use that to plug it back in. 20 times 2, this angle is 40. 4 times 20, this angle is going to be 80. And then the 20 plugged in here, 20 plus 40 is 60. So those are your three angles that you're looking at for this triangle. And if you double checked it, those should add up to 180 if it really works. I think that's going to be the homework assignment, guys. A couple multi-step problems, double check Schoology, but that should be your homework assignment that's due on Thursday. I should be back on Thursday. Thanks for hanging in there. Have a good day.